Alright, so the next step, which I'm using the stock one, is the magazine release, the bolt latch / firing pin assembly. Firing pin, if you don't know, it's in the lower receiver because it's what hits the back valve on a gas magazine. So, unlike a firearm where the bolt houses the firing pin on a airsoft gas gun, on pretty much all airsoft gas blowback guns, the firing pin technically is hidden inside of the mag well in the lower part of the gun. So here you have your bolt latch or bolt stop or bolt catch, bolt release, whatever you want to call it. It's mostly aluminum. Right here, this little square piece, that's actually steel because this is where the bolt sits on and gets caught up on when you have a last round, or if you want to just pull the bolt back and lock it in place, it rests on this little square piece, which is steel. This is a housing with pretty much everything goes into. Like here's the here we go. Bolt release, the firing pin goes in this here. All right, and then we'll see. So to get started, we need to install the firing pin and the firing pin spring. This spring helps push the firing pin back, so it's back hidden inside the receiver. So when you go to load a new magazine, or when you have a magazine in, the firing pin won't hit the valve by accident. So there's a little hex screw in there. You're gonna want to undo that. Pull the two halves apart. The screw is actually quite long. I don't think it really actually needed to be that long. Now you get two springs with the firing pin. You get this long spring, which goes to push the bolt stop into the stowed away position so your bolt doesn't keep catching on it. It also helps for when you pull the bolt back to chamber a new round in a fresh magazine. The bolt latch will automatically go down. So here we go. Now what I like to do is you have this part of the magazine which has the whole rectangular cutouts. Now this is how it sits in the magazine or inside the receiver. So you lay that down. The firing pin is this. Firing pin goes right there. Now, oh, I did that out of frame. Here we go. This piece goes right into here. Now you'll see that there's a little gap up top. Now that gap is where you put the spring. A very, very, very small spring. Smaller than the spring for the bolt catch. So you want to pop that in there. Very small. Once you get that in there, you're going to take the top half and you're going to put it right back down. Screw it together. Just a little finger tight. It doesn't need to be torqued down or anything. Next thing you want to do is this hole right here. Let me point to it. This hole right here, you're going to drop the bigger spring that comes in the little Ziploc bag, and you drop that in there. Now it's going to stick out. Then you take your bolt catch. Now there's a hole in here, right up there. That's going to line up with this hole right here, and that is for a roll pin, which also comes, or no, it's a regular pin, which also comes with the springs and the firing pin. So you're gonna want to push that through. Ow. Make sure everything's lined up. It is. Now, I use my channel locks sometime to get some of these really small pins to go in. So, I'm just gonna clamp it down, boom, then, and to test everything before you put it in the gun, it sits like this inside the gun. Like that. The hammer is going to come down, push the firing pin. If I can let me get the light better. So the hammer comes down, smacks the firing pin. Firing pin's going to hit the valve on the magazine, release the gas. Gas is going to the gun. The bolt is going to shoot the BB, then the bolt's going to move backwards, pushing the hammer into the locked position. The spring should automatically push the firing pin back into its rearward position. Now for the bolt stop, it's just this. Test it. Boom. If it's in the upward position, make sure it automatically goes down. See, you can even hold it upside down and test it. So now this simply drops. Right, when I say simply, it should simply. Oh, I didn't push this pin for the bolt stop in all the way. That's why. Drop right in. Wow. That pin really has to be flush. Yeah, make sure this pin for the bolt stop is in all the way. If it's not, it's not going to slide into the channel right here. There you go. Now, it's held in place, not by pins or screws. Well, technically, it's held in place by both. It's held in place by the magazine catch or magazine release. If you notice that big hole that was in the bottom of the assembly lines up with a hole where the bolt release is, or the bolt catch. So you put the bolt catch through, you take the spring, and you push that in, then you take your magazine release button, and you push that in, and hold it in. And you push that in, you push it down. Let me get my other finger on there, there we go. You push it into the hole, and now you're going to want to push it all the way in for start, and just clockwise turn it. Now, like, oh, it's all together now. But wait, it sticks out a lot. Why does it stick out that much? Take something, anything, and push it as deep as you can into the mag well, or into the low receiver. And just start screwing it down even more. Just about there. Now, set the correct height. doesn't protrude too much. Push it. Boom. Now, sometimes 2 out of the 2 times I've had this gun kit previously, I've had to file the inside. Just because whatever coating they put on here is just thick enough to stop magazines from being able to fit. Sometimes you can really get them to fit, but they're sort of jammed in there and you can't just drop them free, you gotta yank them out. Test out your magazines inside the gun before you file anything out. But for me, I've always had to, so I'm gonna go get a magazine and make sure that they fit. And if they don't, we're gonna have to file some of this stuff away. So I got 2 G&P mags. I got the G&P PMag or PTS PMag. Yep, see? Very stiff to get in there. But not as stiff as it used to be. Some of the other ones you could barely get the magazine in. So that's the PMag. Then I also have the Gen 2 G&P M4 gas mag, the Stenag style mag. That one, it's a little bit better, but it's still a little stiff. So that tells me, if you look inside of the gun, you can see where the paint has rubbed off. So that is where we have to file. Just to file a little bit from there. Actually, I'm gonna leave it for now, and maybe, oh wow, maybe over time it will work itself out. What is happening is it's getting caught on the nub right there. Thinking you have to file just a little bit of more of an angle. Yeah, it's hitting right there. So I think I have to file a little bit more of an approachment angle. Yeah. So take this out. The trick is you can actually hold this in place with the spring in if you kind of just push it in at an angle so it gets caught. I'm not going to leave it like that because I don't want it to get knocked out and then just fly across the room. I'm going to go get a file and I'll be right back. So, get the file out. Now I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm actually going to bring you in down a little bit, a better view. Since these steps are pretty small, I don't have to have the camera up so much. So the magazine release sits like this. Now if you can tell, there's a little bit of a slope right there, so that when you push the magazine in, it pushes the magazine catch out of the way. What I'm having to do now is I'm having to push the magazine release out a little bit, because this little ramp is not good enough. So I'm just gonna round this ramp out a little bit more with a file, just so I get a little bit more of a curve. I'm gonna do this off camera because the camera's right in front of me, and I want to get some good control, and I want to be able to look at the actual piece I'm filing. So just little bit by little bit. You don't want to go too crazy. Just get a little bit more of an angle on there. Also, when you're filing it, you're kind of polishing it a little bit, making the surface a little smoother. I mean, also depending on what grit file you're using. I'm using a metal file on a Leatherman, so it's kind of polishing it a little bit. Give a little bit of a better angle on it. It's actually the first I've ever had to do this. Each kit, I feel like it's just a little bit different in terms of what needs to be done in order for it to work. Alright, it's a little bit more rounded. Clean it off a little bit. Put it back in the rifle. Now, if you're asking, oh, which magazine should I get? Well, the PMag magazines, they're all full metal, by the way. The PMag magazines hold 39 rounds. The Stenag style, or old school steel magazines, hold 50 rounds. But the PMag's assembly is almost 3 or 4 parts. The reservoir for the actual PMag is not just 1 or 2 pieces casted and then put together. So you have 3 pretty much 3 areas where the mag can leak from. The Stenag style mag is $40. PMags are $50. So $10 difference. Yeah, it's still kind of really hard. You can't really tell on camera, but I'm kind of having to really push. So maybe I need to file. Is it drop free? No. So I'm also going to file a little bit where it seems to be rubbing. Yeah, they're not dropping free. But they're definitely not that tight in there. I still gotta file some more off the magazine release. Still way too much pressure to get the magazine in. I actually have to push the magazine release to get the mag to go in. That is not good. Let me do a little trick. Instead of tightening the screw all the way through, I backed it out a few turns. that's still really hard to get in. So I'm just gonna have to keep filing. I'm just gonna have to keep filing and filing. It's kind of hitting right where the ramp starts and this flat edge is. I just have to get that piece rounded. It's not very soft aluminum. It's pretty hard actually. So it's gonna take a little bit of work to actually get it to work. So I would try to do this in camera frame, but I want to just actually be able to look at the piece. Alright, get in there a little bit. Filed some more. See how that works. These kits, they're cheaper, I guess, for a reason. They're cheaper because you have to do the assembly by yourself, so they save a lot of manpower. These guns, when they used to be sold in complete, like in an actual complete built form on eVike, we're selling for $600. You're getting these for wow, that's a lot better. You're getting these for $159. With the P-Mag, I don't think it's just the magazine catch. I think it's also hitting somewhere else in the mag well. So I think I am going to do some more filing in the mag well. I think it's a combination of the mag well and the magazine catch. Just have to be sort of fine-tuned. The Stenag style mags are a little bit easier to put in. It's still kind of tough. I still got to really push them in, but it's getting there. So by next video, I'm going to stop this here because it's just pretty much me filing. Like I said, a lot of these kits do require some filing and stuff, but it's all pretty much determined based on gun to gun. You just got to see where your gun is rubbing and what you have to file. I can't exactly tell you with 100% certainty what you have to file. Like I said, this is the first time I've had to file the bottom of the magazine catch, that little ram part. That's the first time I ever had to file that. So it's a little different from kit to kit. There's a few things that are just normal that happen that you will have to do. Like, I guess the magazine well is just something you have to file for every gun. But next video, I'll give you an update. But by next video, I should have this filed out just enough to make everything work properly. But yeah, that was the magwell fitting and the bolt stop / firing pin assembly. Only, what, 20 more steps to go. But yep, that's the end of this video, and I will see you next time.